Have you ever been in a dungeon and watched a player's stats just jump as they do so much damage throughout that dungeon? Or done a Helliquary raid and noticed that someone on your team is doing so much more damage than everyone else? There are so many different reasons why players have the ability to get so much higher damage stats than you, and in today's video I want to talk about many of the different reasons and ways to increase the damage done by your character class, no matter what character class you are. Now, I do have a plan of putting out a tier list video on classes, determining what's the best class in Diablo Immortal. This is probably the age-old question that everyone's always asking, but at the same time, I do realize that all classes can be viable, all classes can do a ton of damage, and it's all about how we min-max our builds, even if you're not a whale inside of the game. Now, of course, being a whale is going to allow you to unlock more legendary gems and awaken those gems a lot more than players that are free to play or someone like myself who is a low spender. That said, there are many other different things you can do. Why am I bringing this up today? Well, yesterday I was doing a Helliquary boss and there was someone that was on my team dropping 10, 15 times more damage than myself and anyone else in that whole raid. And I'm like, oh, what class are they playing? What combat rating are they sitting at? And ironically, the combat rating was similar to the combat rating of others inside of that raid. But what was different, well, it wasn't the class, because you know what they were playing as? They were playing as the Barbarian. But what was different was, one, of course, the build that they were using, how they stack up different magic attributes and how the essences all stack together, and just how it was well put together. Let's go through a bunch of the things here today that you can do to strengthen your class. So let's start off with the obvious, okay? The gems that you put in, the residence that you have for your class. This is the pay-to-win mechanic inside of Diablo Immortal, all right? This is the mechanic that a lot of people, most people, choose not to engage with. The higher spenders inside of the game are going to have all 5-star legendary gems. They are going to be 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5 star legendary gems. They're going to be in awakened slots with all of these other gems pushed within that are all upgraded as well. If you didn't know that with the gem resonance system, you're able to slot additional gems inside of your primary gem and rank these up to rank 10 as well, increasing your combat rating, increasing your gem resonance, and getting all of these different attributes. So, not everyone, most people actually, cannot just go buy more legendary gems. This can be extremely expensive, which leads Diablo Immortal to being one of the biggest pay-to-win games. But you don't have to do this. But along the same lines of this, you could still do the same thing as a player who is even free to play. To do that, you need to make all of these slots purple. If your slots are not purple, or you don't have any purple slots, it's because you're probably a newer player and you haven't yet been introduced to the gem awakening system. Basically, once you get a gem, even like my 2-star Fervent Fang or my 2-star Pain Clasp, once you get a gem to rank 4, you're able to awaken the slot. What awakening a slot does is it gives you the ability to have those bonus stats and to put those gems within, just like we were talking about over here. The primary gems, we awaken the slot using a Dawning Echo. You go by the jeweler and he's going to tell you what you need to do. Basically, you need to get a Dawning Echo. You can get that next to the blacksmith or in the shop. It costs either 1,000 orbs or 10,000 platinum. I forget what the cost was. Am I over there? We can actually take a look right now. Let's see what the cost of that is. Right over here, you can go to the shop. This used to be something that you had to buy with orbs. Now, yep, it's 1,000 orbs or 10,000 platinum, which makes this attainable to all players, even free-to-play players, because platinum is farmable inside of the game. Great change that came approximately a year ago to the game. So we're not just here to talk about awakening slots. That's something I've spoken of before. It's not new news, but the benefits that you get from this are massive. A little bit more, actually. One more second on the awakening of slots. When you come on over to the jeweler that I was talking about, if you go to Gem Resonance, you'll see it gives you the stats that you can gain. And once you awaken a slot, that slot is forever awakened as long as you have a rank 4 gem inside of that slot. If I take out a rank 4 and put a rank 1 in, the slot will still be awakened, but it'll be a dormant awakening, which means it won't actually be working. But once you put a 4-star rank 4 gem inside of that again, then it will wake itself up again. Pretty easy. It has nothing to do with the gear you're wearing. You could swat in any piece of gear you want, and you could still get that awakening bonus. As you can see here, everything in green are the increased stats that we're getting. So here, my chain spear damage is increased by 10%. My chain spear cooldown is decreased by 10%. My Wrath of the Berserker cooldown is decreased by 10%. These are all additional bonuses that you get just from having your slot being purple. And again, this can be done with 1-star gems, 2-star gems, or 5-star gems, which means it's a great advantage you get over other players if you can get any of your gems, even 1-stars, to that next level. Before you were able to awaken slots, you used to have the gem at max level. People would very heavily use 1 and 2-star gems to get all of these bonuses, and of course to be able to throw in the additional gem resonance in there as well. So this is a great mechanic that you can definitely use to your advantage. But again, there's so much more than just that. Let's take a look right here at our gear to start. All right, when you get your gear, you have a whole bunch of things on here. You have your combat rating, which essentially tells you how strong you are, what level difficulties you can get to. The more combat rating you have, the bigger and better your ability to take on better bosses, higher hell or infernal difficulties, etc., etc. You have your attributes. Fortitude is always an important one. I always like getting fortitude. Does a lot of damage, does a lot of great things. So fortitude is something that I will always focus on. You have your magic attributes too. This is from better pieces of gear that you'll usually get from doing Hellslayer bounties and things of that nature, where you can get magic attributes specific to your class. These are all going to give you extra bonuses to some of the skills that you're using. Some will be irrelevant, some won't. In this case, Wrath of the Berserker and Sprint, I'm using both of them with this build, so I'm getting some buffs to that. Keep in mind, if you class change, all of the gear that you have will swap over to that of the new class. You don't lose any levels, you don't lose any gems, you don't lose anything. But the magic attributes will change based off of the gear that you have in the class that you're playing. So you may have to do some modifying over there. You also have some of these nice bonuses here. Critical hit chance increased by 4%. Absolutely love getting critical hit chance on almost every build that I can. Something else I really like getting is a beneficial effect duration. That's going to allow you to use your skills and things like that a lot more frequently. Notice we have a rune in here as well. The runes, they are right over here, they can be slotted into your build. And as you can see, they give you buffs as well. You have the baby runes, you have a little bit of a bigger rune, and then you have even the golden runes and beyond that can be placed in there. These you can get from, I believe it's called the Abyssal Verge. I think that was the name of it. That's the best place to get that. I'll just show you on the map really quickly where that is. If you look at West March, it's going to be right over here. Right in here. This is the area, and it is called the Abyssal Verge. I run this just a couple of times a day. Very easy, quick run. You can get monstrous essence and things from that as well, and it's a good way for you to pick up some new runes and find some better ones. I've never bought runes. I just happen to find them, and when I get better ones, I place the better ones into my build. That's it. All right, obviously you have the gem socketed, which is, we've already spoken about that. And then you have your cursed properties. Cursed property, actually, I'm sitting and looking at this right now. I had to switch cursed properties, and I didn't do it properly. I'll actually do that in this video. Cursed properties give you different attributes to your gear. You could only do this on cursed gear. If you take a look at my secondary weapons, both of them, look at the frame. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see a little better. Look at the frame, comparing it to these frames. Notice these frames have a little bit of decorative, frill or whatever you want to call it around the frame. These ones do not. These are not cursed pieces of gear. These 6 are. And you could re-roll your cursed gear to get some cursed properties to do more damage. Let's take a look over here and see what my cursed properties actually are. As you can see, I'm wearing a 2-piece lashed and a 3-piece nettled. I like lashed because it's going to throw out some whips and it's going to do some extra damage. My nettled is going to gain a shield for the next 6 seconds every time you hit a counterattack. Now, that's a shielding thing. It's good for PvP. Not the best for doing extra damage because it's a shielding element. But notice, I have 6 pieces of gear that are cursed, and only 5 are the right curse. Let me show you how you could switch this really quickly. Let's come on over to the blacksmith. We're going to go to services, and we're going to go to curse purifying. Let's find the piece of gear that doesn't have the right. I'm wearing lashed, atrophied. When you deal continuous damage to an enemy, the dark field will appeal under them, dealing continuous additional damage. There are many different curse properties you could choose from, but you have to have 2 pieces of gear with the same curse property for that to be active. I want them to be nettled just like this one, gaining a shield for 6 seconds, and then you can counterattack with that shield. So let's actually purify this, and we're going to use a purification shard right here, and we're going to do this until we get the one that we're looking. I don't need lashed. I'm going to choose the new one just in case, but I really want to get, what am I looking for here? I'm looking for nettled. So we're going to go over here again, purify, and you keep using these purification stones until you get the proper one. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it takes a bunch of stones. In this case, it's probably going to take a bunch of stones. I chose lashed because I do use lashed as well, so I'd rather at least have that one set in place in case I get another piece of gear, because 2 of the pieces of gear that I'm wearing aren't cursed. And that's not optimal. I want to find pieces of gear that fit in those slots that are going to have those cursed properties so that I can do a little bit more. I'll give it a few more rolls. You get the idea here, though. Eventually, I would get nettled. I would choose it, and then I would get the 4-piece bonus for wearing that versus only the 2-piece bonus that I have now, because I only have 3 of the 4. And yeah, see, as you can see, you get a ton of these purification shards, but it could also take a whole bunch to actually get the roll that you're looking for, which could get kind of annoying. You have to do this all the time when you get a new piece of gear that you put into your gear. You're always going to be doing these purification. There we go. We got the nettled. Now we got the 4-piece. Let's choose the new attribute. Boom. And now when we take a look at my cursed properties, let's come right over here. You'll notice that the cursed properties, I have a 2-piece lashed and I have a 4-piece nettled. I'll be trying to get myself into a 4-piece lashed as well. There's a lot more to just that. Obviously, you are going to want to make sure that the charm that you're utilizing gives bonuses to the class that you're playing, and specifically the skills that you're using. Now, the charm system in the game is probably one of the most wonky, along with the pet system inside of the game, so it's very difficult to get higher rolls than 2% on all of these. You have to continuously roll. I do have a charm guide. It's been out for 2 years, and the charm system has not changed in that time. It is exactly the same, and it's a pain in the butt. Now that I have all of the bonuses, at least for Barbarian on my charm, I don't even really bother with this much anymore, because it is such a lottery system to get it where you want it to be. So I don't really worry about that much at all either. You have your Seeker rating. The Seeker's path right here is really nice because you have the Ancestral Tableau, upgrading your equipment, and the Helliquary. Let's look at the Helliquary bonuses first. Notice we're getting buffs to strength, vitality, fortitude, and willpower because of the demonic remains and because of the level of our Helliquary. You get these by utilizing the Void Blood Slag. That one you get just rewarded from inside of the game. And notice I'm about ready to do another upgrade, getting me from level 69 to level 70. You get this from running Helliquary and for some little rewards around the game. Primarily, Helliquary runs are going to get you these. These are going to unlock Demonic Remains. Demonic Remains are going to give you buffs throughout the game. Keep in mind, it's going to upgrade your combat rating. It's going to give you better attributes. And it has special attributes, but the special attributes are only relevant during Helliquary raids and challenge rifts. So, to be very honest, I don't worry about these at all, the special attributes. I only focus on what's going to give me the most combat rating and what really can give me the most fortitude possible. Now, we have all these different slots. You have one right up top. You have one in the middle. These are all gotten through different Helliquary raid bosses. And that one notice has fortitude. I'd love to get, no, actually we're good. I think I have fortitude on all of them. Yes, we do. And we're getting a boost to combat rating on all of them. Great way to boost your combat rating, but of course, you do have to run Helliquary raids on a regular basis. Helliquary resets, and you can do your runs every Monday and every Thursday. This is what I do with my warband to try and keep up with all of that stuff. But also, you have your ancestral tableau, where you can contribute activity points, mostly that you get from Helliquary, but also through other things in the game. And you could also get bumps in your strength, intelligence, willpower, vitality, fortitude, seeker rating, complete score right here. Just another way to get those additional buffs. These are long-term grind items, though. These are not something that you can say, I'm going to really focus on my ancestral tableau today. It doesn't work that way. You just have to continuously grind that over time. And then equipment upgrade. Of course, your gear, this is like super, if you are brand new to the game, you may not know this. I'm sure that most of you do, but you want to make sure that you upgrade your gear. All your gear is going to be at rank 1 when you get it. And then as you go on and on, you'll be able to upgrade your gear. Primary gear up to 30 as of right now, and 20 for the secondary gear. As you can see, I'm at 28 right here for my primary weapon. And I need to get a little bit more of the dust and a little bit more of the scrap. Actually, I'm good on scrap. I need a little bit more dust. And then I'm going to be able to get this to the next level, which will be 29. The best way to do this is just by focusing on getting scrap material, right? If you get a lot of scrap material, mostly from open world farming and from events, and even Battlegrounds gives you some, then you can convert it into the dust that you need. I always have more scrap than dust. I just come over here and I will go right here and I'll convert some of my scrap into dust, and then I'll have what I need for the equipment upgrades. So equipment upgrades, super basic thing right there, but also worth mentioning for some people that may not know it. Getting yourself a familiar that can give you some good buffs is also quite nice. Remember, you're going to have your bonded familiars, which essentially are going to give you the ability to have some of these extra bonuses, like Salvager I can have along with me. With this one, I could bring along my pack mule, allowing me to remote armory reset. This one right here, I can come along and help me identify on the go and not need to go. But your primary companion pet is going to actually be able to help you with things. It's going to help you with all of these. Check it out. It gives you all of these different active skills. The most important one for me is a PvP skill. Most people that do PvP will want Savior on their pet. It grants a one-time protection from death, including damage immunity for 3.5 seconds, but it will not participate in combat for about a minute after that. Very important if you're doing PvP. But all of these other things, like right here, Chain Reaction increases skill damage by 9% for every extra enemy hit, up to 27%. These are great bonuses that you can get just from utilizing a pet. And you get pets basically for free inside of the game. I think I could actually go over now, get something, summon a pet, and then try and work on some of my pets. Or familiars, I guess we could say. I've gotten a bunch of them here. I'm just sitting on so many. I'm very happy with the familiar that I have because I have Savior. I'm not really actively working to make any better ones. But yeah, that's really another nice, pretty passive way. I would never say that you should go and go crazy trying to roll a proper pet. I do believe that the familiar system inside of the game is being reworked, and I think that it will change and be more simple in the future. It's been getting more and more user-friendly over time, and I think it'll get a lot more with a little more time. You can get 3 of those contracts that I just purchased per week, and then you can come over and you could summon your familiars. We'll summon just a full 5 right here. All right, good. We got 2 decent ones right there that we could work with, and we'll summon another 5. And you just basically are just trying to get some luck with pulling a familiar that you may want to use. Then you upgrade them and move along just like that. Now, it's really important that you test out your builds over in the sparring ground. This is a great way for you to be able to determine how much damage your class actually does. Now, damage doesn't mean everything. I have essentially 3 different builds that I use. I'll show you all 3 of them. Let's just get on over here to the armory and you'll take a look. All right, first off, we have a PvP build that has my skills for PvP, my Paragon for PvP, my familiar, which doesn't change, my bonded familiars, and my gear. I then have one for farming, which has a lot of area of effect damage. This allows me to just run around and do damage to everything around me, burning everything. It's a great way to farm. And then I have a big damage build, which is more for something like a Helliquary boss or a dungeon boss that is probably not the best for farming because it doesn't just easily kill everything. I have to be much more active with my attacking, but it does do a lot more damage than a farming build would. Now the PvP build is focused on being able to stun people, being able to prevent myself from getting stunned, being able to do a lot of damage quickly to another opponent. Very different builds. Utilizing the armory allows you to put those builds together. And then you could come on over here and you could test them out in the armory and really just see how it all goes. You could also go into duels with people if you want to, try and see if you could fight other people. The dueling mechanic here is actually pretty cool, probably underused as well. And if you do take people out over here, you get your, I haven't used it a ton, and I wish I did more, but you get yourself a bag of ears of people that you've killed inside of there. So it's actually a pretty cool mechanic that would be cool if it were built out a little bit more even from there. But you could test out your build. So let's okay, I'm using my farming build right now, but whatever, I'll give you an example. We're going to come right here and we'll start using our skills. We'll go whirlwind on top. And you could basically do yourself 10 seconds, 9, 10, and then you hit the pause button. You could get the breakdown of damage per second and what skills are doing what. This is a great way to actually test out how strong your build actually is. This build right now, as I mentioned, not the strongest, but it's one of the best for the barbarian for that farming. Again, you don't need a ton of strength to do any of that farming. Going through other things, you could obviously work on your Paragon trees. There's different Paragon trees that are better in different areas. This is the one I use for farming. Gladiator could be used in PvP. Notice right here, cheat death. Fatal attacks from players instead reduce you to 1 life while making you immune to damage for 3 seconds. I have Undying Rage with the Barbarian. We have that pet that has Savior. You could also put cheat death on there. You have something that'll help you in the open world right here. Fatal attacks from monsters instead reduce you to 1 life and make you immune to all damage from monsters for 3 seconds. That's something that's good if you're going against some big dungeon bosses or Helliquary bosses. And there are a bunch more, and then your legendary ones, which can give you additional bonuses on top of the Paragon that you're using. Keeping up with your Paragon trees, making sure that as you unlock Paragon points, which you get for every level that you increase inside of the game, are going to really help you get the most out of your build while you're doing that. There was something else I wanted to share with you, and it's right over here. Let's pull up my class right here, and you'll notice that we have the, where is it? Legacy of the Horadrim. You get this from running the Sanctum. You get the aspirant keys, you run through the Sanctum, you open up chests, and those aspirant keys bring you jewels. The jewels can be used to unlock these different slots. It's really important that you unlock the slots that matter, ones that are going to give you armor penetration. Notice I focus on resistance, damage, armor penetration, armor, potency resistance. Here I have a little more potency, a little bit more damage and life. The one that I really don't focus on is the one that's really just focused on life. Probably the least important one. But armor penetration is always going to be a huge one. And with upgrading the Horadrim, which is another thing that takes time. Okay, it's a time-consuming one. Not that it takes a lot of time to do daily, it just takes a lot of days to continuously upgrade here. You'll be able to get bonus attributes giving you bonus to damage, life, armor, armor penetration, potency, and resistance. So another area where you can really pop in and get some extra damage and stuff done. Now, we didn't even talk about green gear, but choosing your secondary gear that is going to give you the set properties that increase the damage done by your build is going to be important if you're looking to put together a damage build. So here, increases the duration of all beneficial effects on you or party members. The Thu is something that you'll see on many players that are trying to boost their builds in many classes as well. It's a very popular one. Now, I'm going with one that is a shielding one right here, specifically for PvP. This is not helping me really at all with damage, but I'm using Mount Bank. Each time you take damage, I have a 20% chance to gain a shield that absorbs damage equal to 13% of my life. Also, the shield damage absorption is increased by 33% of my maximum life, and I can move unhindered through enemies. So this is something that's helping me for PvP. If I wanted something that was more for damage, I would choose another piece of green gear. Of course, you get your green gear primarily through running dungeons, but you can also salvage those dungeon items and craft green pieces of gear in the blacksmith. Also, you get rewarded daily for your gear with a green piece of gear. Actually, as you can see, you run 3 dungeons, you get a free green piece of gear. And you can get it in other ways. Random dungeon will give you a free piece of gear every 7 completions as well. So you can get yourself a bunch of free greens on top of any random drops that come. It's actually not that difficult to get green gear. It can be difficult to get the right, perfect green gear that you're looking for, though, for your build. This was a general overview of how to get your build to a position where you want it to be. Remember, the market is your friend. You can go to the market, sell things that you could sell to get platinum, and then buy things that you need. I didn't even touch on regular normal gems, but they are very important as well. One of the most important being the sapphire, and you're going to want to slot all of those pieces of gear into your secondary slots. Notice they have different gems slotted in, and as you can see, it's going to give you extra bonuses based off of what they are. Notice the sapphire here, my rank 6 sapphire, is giving me more armor penetration. All of the different normal gems, they give you different buffs. You have the resistance, armor penetration, armor, potency, life, and damage. So you could do that and upgrade all of those along the way as well. Another pretty tedious grind. And the way that you get these, the best way, open world farming with friends. They'll drop when you're in a party of 4 or more, or doing hidden lairs. You can do those solo if you want to, and those will drop. Man, that was like a very quick guide on how to just power up your account and all the different passive ways of doing that. At the end of the day, the build that you choose is very much going to determine the damage you can do. Good builds with skills and items that synergize well together are going to net you a better outcome for damage and for success when you're going in open world, PvP, against dungeons, or even in Helliquary bosses. Everything has its specific role, and it's our job to figure out the best roles for the class that we're playing. And again, you could swap between classes anytime you want. Every day you're able to swap to a different class, and I suggest that you try doing that. Right now, one of the best damage dealers is the Tempest. I'm thinking about going to Tempest myself, but I do love the Barbarian. The cool thing is I can swap between any classes that I want at any point in time, and nothing is lost. It's a great feature of the game that I utilize all the time, not as much as I should, and I always recommend that other players do. If you switch to another class that you don't like, just switch back to the one that you're used to. But when you do get a little bored of the game, swapping class definitely does bring a little bit of a spark back to it and a little bit more excitement, especially when you need to search and hunt for different essences to create the builds that you're looking to build. Hope you found this valuable, guys. Make sure you check out my website, echogaming.io, and I'll see you back here in tomorrow's video.